The Frosthaven Kickstarter campaign partnered with two third-party custom inserts, Laserox with their wooden organizers and Folded Space with their foam storage solution. For some reason, we have both of them, and I'm gonna tell you which insert is the best at storing and organizing your Frosthaven components. And it's not Laserox. Yep, the clear winner here is in fact the base game insert. If you're a total dork who reads every single Frosthaven Kickstarter update, you may remember back in update number 91, there were details about the default insert that comes with the game. Cephalopher knew that Gloomhaven's default storage solution was extremely lackluster in that it was literally non-existent. As a result, any good Gloomhaven veteran did some sort of organization black magic. Whether that was figuring out a plastic bag configuration, Plano boxes, or straight up buying a third-party custom insert. So now all of us have PTSD from organizing Gloomhaven, and I can totally understand why you'd rather not deal with the hassle and just buy a third-party insert instead. But I'm here to tell you to stop! Get your cursor away from Magikarp! Listen, the default insert is in fact good. I'd say it's legitimately on par with Laserox and Folded Space when it comes to organization plus setup/teardown speed. Like, the Kickstarter update is really underselling itself when it says Frosthaven's base insert is not nearly as elaborately organized as Laserox and Folded Space. But enough looking at me, let's take a closer look at all three of these organization options. God, that all took forever to put together. So how about a quick like and subscribe, yeah? Anyways, as you can see, all three fit super snugly back into the box, assuming you take the map tiles out, with the base insert having the most leftover space if you want to stash some pencils, erasers, spin down D20 dice, and whatever else you want to throw in. But honestly, I could care less about whether it all fits back in perfectly, because when the box is this fucking big, having a bit of lid lift isn't a big deal. It's all still super secure when the lid is covering like 9 inches of box height. What's way more important to me when determining the quality of an organizer is the setup/teardown time, and all other factors that don't play a role in getting from scenario to scenario faster are ultimately just kinda cute trivialities. And unfortunately, both Laserox and Folded Space are super mediocre in this department, each failing and succeeding at certain things and ultimately being not that much, if at all, better than the default insert. Let's start with Laserox. First off, there's tons of random bits that just don't fit well. The monster stat holder is too short for the cards, and then underneath the stats holds the ally and monster attack modifier decks, which are also too tall for the divider wall when sleeved. You also can't use a lot of the divider cards that come with Frosthaven, and instead you have to use the wooden dividers, which aren't labeled. Like, sure, the wood is nice and all, but you know what's better? Being able to ask your friend, hey, can you get the craftable items out? Yo, draw a winter road event. And then after a quick glance, they get it out. With wooden dividers, they stop for a bit and then go like, duh, what the fuck am I looking at? Next thing that doesn't fit is how the loot deck can't be cleanly split into 2 piles for these 2 slots delegated for the loot deck. FYI, the loot deck is 20 coins, 8 wood, 8 hide, 8 metal, 12 herbs, and then 3 miscellaneous cards. Meaning that the cleanest split you can do is 32 and 27. 20 coins plus 12 herbs, and then 24 resources plus 3 miscellaneous. These fit real tight, and it's annoyingly hard to get the 32 pile in and out of the slot if it's sleeved. Of course, there's a third slot that's reserved for your random side scenario cards, so you could do a 3 pile loot split, but it's annoying having 2 different types of cards in the same slot, especially if it's something you're grabbing from super regularly, like, you know, the loot deck. So yeah, the instructions are whack for saying that the 2 left slots are fine when it's actually not fine. Also, my conditions box lid won't close properly. The trays are just slightly too tall, which is kind of a huge problem actually, considering that when you store the conditions holder, it goes in sideways. Then for the monster box, this was a particular pain point when assembling because for some reason everything was extremely tight when pushing it together. And then when I closed the lid for the first time, it was so stuck in there that I had to pull with the back of a hammer because you can't just hook your thumb into the center hole since one of the divider walls is preventing you from pushing the lid. That design flaw is really dumb, by the way, because this hole sometimes allows the initiative tile to escape while not even helping you pull the lid open. I eventually loosened the lid by just constantly sliding it open and closed, and during that process, I figured out that wedging a chopstick into the lid and hammering it was really effective at getting this done more easily. Another case of not fitting well is that the big card holder goes too hard on being designed around sleeved cards. So much so that the hole on the bottom is too big and unsleeved cards will slightly fall through it. Great way to bend your cards. Oh yeah, and the monster box has these holes between the dividers so you can slot in the latches to keep the 5 trays stacked securely. But those holes are big enough that standees and initiative tiles can move into them, and if you don't notice, you can accidentally crush them when sliding the locking mechanism in. Then to top it all off, if you sleeve all the cards of a class that has a gajillion tokens and standees, like the Bone Shaper, it doesn't all fit in the player tray. And trust me, Bone Shaper isn't the only class that has a gajillion tokens and standees. Oh hey, look, the website doesn't show the Bone Shaper in any character tray image. But also, easy solution is to just not sleeve the unused perk cards and don't put in the health/exp dial. Put that in the class's empty character envelope. It feels good, man. Sleeved stuff not fitting into the proc that was made to hold everything sleeved. Love to see it. Except I do want to point out that I'm using Dragon Shield, which are dummy thick sleeves, but that's going for the standard card, so it doesn't really affect these small cards here. I'm not done criticizing the character tray though, because it has really weird dividers. Initiative marker goes with the class icon tokens in the top left on this part that's super raised for no reason, which makes both hard to reach when the lid is open because it's blocking your finger. Then the standee slot doesn't have a hole on the bottom, which is super bizarre considering that they were super attentive to put holes in like everything else. So as you get more items and start needing to put your unused items and perk cards somewhere because the bottom right slot is full, which probably will happen since your attack deck will likely grow in size given how perks that remove cards are borderline non-existent since Frosthaven is better balanced, you're gonna naturally put them in the top right since most classes don't have a million standees and tokens to occupy that space. And then the cards up there are super annoying to get out since there's no hole. The mini tray is also super annoying to get the minis in the middle out because the wall is high around the center parts. Okay, enough about bad fits. Let's talk about setup teardown speed being bad. First of all, the included box to hold the map tiles has no dividers. You literally just throw all the map tiles in. Don't fucking use this. Go buy an accordion folder, ideally one with 16 slots. You can get away with less slots too if you want to go cheap because you can just group the smaller tiles together. Next, the monster box has really shitty organization because everything is primarily grouped on size, which makes it super annoying to find what you need because they aren't grouped by something logical, like say putting all the demons together. Really wish we got the tuck box version because judging by the pictures, you can way more easily pick out what you need on a glance plus sort everything alphabetically. The monster box tries to do alphabetical when it can, like there's mostly ABCDs on top, but ultimately some stuff has to be in random ass positions due to sizing constraints. Granted, once you detach all 5 trays and lay them all out, you can more easily just see and find what you need, but then if a scenario has a ton of different enemy types, you might forget which slots are for which monsters and accidentally put some back in the wrong slots. And remember, this is organized based on size, so if the monster group is too big, boom, you may just end up damaging something when sliding the trays together, which further exacerbates the problem mentioned earlier with stuff sliding into the holes for the tray latches. The overall overlay tile trays have a similar pitfall where stuff is primarily organized by size, which causes some bizarre placements like some of the doors being split into different trays, certain tiles with a lot of copies occupying multiple sections, and then some different tiles having to be grouped together like the cave and metal corridor tiles. Then there's weird separations like the icy snowy stuff being grouped separately, the dark rock stuff being grouped separately, you name it. Like there just isn't a good flow of setup convenience with how this is organized. Stuff that's going to be used all the time should all be grouped together, ideally at the top tray like the loot tokens, elements, and objective markers. It does do a pretty good job with keeping the corridor and 2 hex tiles all together though, but that feels more like a happy accident because of how everything is sorted by size in the first place. But also these complaints regarding the overlay tile trays are nowhere near as important as the monster box ones, because again, since you can just lay out all 4 trays, it's still pretty easy to just glance around and see what you need. And it's much easier to handle while taking up less space than the monster trays. Now I'm gonna complain about folded space. First off, for minor annoyances, which all involve not separating certain components, why are the damage tokens grouped together rather than fully separated? Laserox got this right with the 1s, 3s, 10s, 20s, and 100s, each having their own slot. Then there's the conditions tray, and for some reason, the impaired tokens are grouped with the bless and curse tokens. If you're familiar with Gloomhaven, you may go like, what the hell, curse and bless tokens aren't needed. To which I say, nope, they are used in Frosthaven. They will go onto the board from traps and abilities. But yeah, I'd be fine grouping the blesses and curses, just not all 3 of these. And then for this tray, it groups all the objective numbers and letters together instead of dividing them, so good luck quickly finding whatever number or letter you need. Next up, there's some really wacky storage layout going on here. Like, I'm really not a fan of how the character envelopes, minis, and books are all stored sideways. Like, these minis aren't in foam, they're just in these cardboard boxes, so leaving them sideways is gonna eventually make the ones with slimmer connections to the bases slightly bent. Character envelopes being sideways also means you can't see the icons on top, and books being sideways makes it really awkward to grab all of them at once, since the scenario and section books really shift around since they're massive ringed books without good covers. Plus, once you start removing trays, the books and envelopes have a tendency to fall over. But all of that could be forgiven if the bulk of organization, the tiles and monsters, were done well. Unfortunately, out of all 3 storage options here, folded space gets last place in this regard. Why on earth would you ever design it so that you're separating the monster standees, initiative tiles, and behavior cards? This considerably lengthens setup time and makes folded space slower to set up than Laserox and the default insert. Granted, I understand this doesn't matter at all if you're using a companion app, because then all you need are the standees. Sure, but then folded space fucks up here by grouping all the standees by size and then cramming them all together vertically so you can't see what you need. The only good one is the tray for small standees, since everything is actually divided. And when it comes to the monster decks and initiative tiles, sure, you can organize the decks into alphabetical order, but the initiative tiles all just get unceremoniously dumped into a pile, so yeah, have fun digging through that. Now for the overlay tiles, they're also not organized well, being packed together instead of being cleanly separated. It's basically just piles of shit organized mostly by size so that it all fits. Traps are separated from each other, doors are in different slots, the double water overlays don't fit anywhere so they go with the triple tiles for some reason. Like, dude, what is going on here? You also can't even see everything that well because they're not laid horizontally for you to have vision of it all. Straight up, the default Frosthaven insert does a better job here, because even though it's grouping everything together, at least it does it in a way that makes sense. Single hexes, doubles, triples, doors, traps. From there, you can freely group the tiles by whatever means you want, like going off of color and putting all the snow and icy stuff together, then all the dirt and rubble together, then all the wood, etc. And lastly, the map tiles organizer doesn't come with the folded space insert. It's a separate purchase you can make that's way more expensive than just buying an accordion folder anywhere for like 10 bucks. Plus, this map tile holder is made out of cardboard and is really stiff, all while not having as many slots as a conventional accordion folder. I'd only suggest buying it if you really like the look of it, or you want your tile holder to be recyclable, despite the fact that you're probably not going to recycle it if you're actually using it. Lastly, here's the issues that both Laserox and folded space share. Both don't sort the standee clips. Both have barely any extra space in case you want to store stuff like pencils, erasers, spin down d20s for health, extra stuff from the envelopes, stuff from Gloomhaven. Yes, that's a thing. And both have really weird groupings of components. Like Laserox randomly puts the battle goals and attack deck modifiers with the events, or like how folded space randomly has some of the character minis with the larger monster standees and the initiative tiles with the overlay tiles. Actually, there is technically a tiny bit of extra space. Laserox has the unused coin compartment, and folded space has this random gap above the minis and maybe a little bit of wiggle room at the top, which feels kinda wasteful and makes me feel like the trays could have all been designed slightly more tighter to actually fill up the box. Because either it should all perfectly fit, or there should intentionally be leftover space that's designed to store your knickknacks. That, or you could not sleeve your cards and get a little more room. But that coin coin compartment brings me to the overall vibe I get from both of these inserts that permeates throughout their designs. I can't help but feel that the designers of these inserts didn't actually play Frosthaven that much. Reminder, there are no coin tokens in Frosthaven. It's just loot tokens in the loot deck, which you annoyingly have to rebuild every scenario. So ideally, the deck is split into 5 slots, one for money, one for each resource, and one for the herbs, so that rebuilding it is much easier every time. And now that I think about it, both inserts were designed before Frosthaven came out, so it makes sense that their designers probably didn't play the game yet and were instead just working off the sample components and started organizing them arbitrarily. Hence why we end up with bizarre implementations like the bad groupings, stuff being sorted by size instead of by convenience, vertical standees, vertical event cards so you can't use the horizontal dividers, really vertically stacked trays from Laserox. Lots of verticality here, not great. You want shit more horizontal so you can gaze at it better. Like, look at my Gloomhaven Planos. 1 box for all the overlay tiles, 2 for the monsters. Really easy to see everything, really easy to pass it all around. Also, my monsters are grouped by 1 plano for sentient beings / humanoids and the other for the truly monstrous. So yeah, ultimately neither insert helps the organization all that much, and I can't justify buying either. There are good things to say, but I'm too lazy to go over what's good about these two products, and if there's anything I didn't mention, it probably works fine or even great. But again, the default insert also works fine, or even great, sometimes even better. The only thing that these custom inserts definitively, unquestionably do better is being able to fit everything fully sleeved, and still sometimes not even doing that. But let me ask you this, are you gonna sleeve literally every single card in Frosthaven? Really? Even the cards that are in the locked envelopes that I won't spoil? Where are you gonna put those once they're sleeved? Because they won't fit back in the envelopes, and there's no spare space in these trays, that's for sure. I personally just sleeve the stuff that's gonna get shuffled a lot, like battle goals, loot deck, and attack mod decks, which by the way, the base game insert totally accommodates. I don't see a reason to sleeve, say, the event decks, which are almost never shuffled and only used like once every few hours of gameplay. And there's so many cards. Sleeving all of Frosthaven, I could easily see taking an entire day. Oh, and by the way, setting up the Laserox insert took me an entire day to do because you can't just punch them out without stripping the edges. I had to use an X-Acto knife and then press and sometimes even hammer pieces together, and rarely using wood glue for the pieces that don't just press to connect. Folded space only took like 2 to 3 hours to do because you just punch out all the super easy to push foam and glue the edges together. So again, I'm gonna ask you, are you willing to spend multiple days punching out and unboxing Frosthaven, sleeving everything, cutting out a wooden insert, and then putting this all together? If that's your jam, then by all means go for it, but personally, I'm not really into the organizing and blinged up collecting side of this hobby. I'm here to play the games. But if this is your jam and you love the sheer value you get here in terms of how long you can potentially spend organizing and putting it all together like some sort of massive Lego set, then hell yeah, just be honest with yourself and others that this is all for the enjoyment of sleeving and organizing and not for actually playing the game. But yeah, my disappointment is immeasurable and multiple days have been ruined putting this all together and making this video because I could have been playing so much Frosthaven. I've done 15 scenarios as of this video, but this damn project took like a week to do. I could have been up to 30 scenarios by now. I should also mention that we've received these two inserts for free from their respective companies as part of getting Frosthaven early from Cephalofair. They just came like 2 weeks after Frosthaven did, so I already played it a bunch with the base insert. I got these for free and I'm disappointed. I'd be livid if I paid for these. Apologies to Folded Space and Laserox for pooping all over your products, but hey, maybe there will be updated versions in the future, please? I do think these inserts look great, you know, but I also think wood is gonna inherently have issues with a game this big because it's hella heavy and it's harder to label, which is something Folded Space does super well by having images of literally everything in its trays. Seriously though, keep an eye out for the weight if you expect to be carrying your copy of Frosthaven around a bunch. And finally, you may be wondering, how am I personally gonna end up organizing Frosthaven? Well, since I have all these inserts, I'm probably just gonna use some Frankenstein mix of both by taking my favorite individual trays from each. And if that doesn't fit well, I'm straight up going back to the original insert and maybe replacing the overlay tiles tray with the Laserox one purely because that's separate slots for every tile. Though I doubt that there will ultimately be spacing issues once the companion apps start rolling out, because then you can throw out all of the monster cards in the initiative tiles, the element board, the health and EXP dials, and hopefully even the loot deck if these apps know what they're doing. For now though, if you're playing fully analog, my recommendation for y'all is to skip out on custom inserts, get an accordion folder with 16 slots, sort the overlay tiles in a way that makes sense to you, and get bigger plastic bags to hold the smaller plastic bags included with Frosthaven. That way, you can store the monsters by groups, like demons, algox, imps, machines, etc. Do that and you'll get games going faster than both Laserox and Folded Space would allow, assuming you're just using their products without further modification, because honestly, Laserox gets pretty good if you get an accordion folder and replace some of the weirder trays with plastic bags. That's that's it for the video. Please consider supporting us on Patreon and checking out our website at shelfside.co if you want written reviews and merch. See ya.